My oil pressure light isn't.
You look concerned. This thing hasn't turned sustained RPM for probably 25 years. Farm trucking! Uh-oh.
Welcome back to Tiger's Garage. I really want to give Stinkbug a proper street shakedown, more than just around the block, but there's a handful of things that make me a little bit nervous and I'd like to fix before we do that. We're waiting on that. Oh, big one. If we're gonna go farther away, I would like to try to get out of the double pump situation. Tack is on my list. Don't want to turn this thing too hard. I think they only are supposed to turn like 35, 3600. Oh, maybe. Some of these are maybes. I would like to reattach that, and I'd actually like to move the whole thing in a bit. I don't think we're gonna get that done. We don't need that done to go out on the real road, but we need to figure out something with that. This makes me nervous. I don't want to be responsible for that part falling off on the highway at 55, which is, I realize, is optimistic. I think that's it for now. These are not in any particular order, so I'm gonna start with the ones that seem the most fun, which honestly is probably the tack. This is the tack I bought. Bosch. You'll notice it's only 2 5/8, which is your standard gauge size. I didn't want a big giant boy racer shift light, tack like I have in the Roadrunner. I don't even really like that one, to be honest with you. But I did want something I could clamp to the steering column and see where we're at. This is about twice as much gauge as we need. It goes to 8K. If this stove bolt goes to 8K, you're gonna see parts on the ground. But it should be power ground, and then, whoa, to the negative side of the coil, I think is how these work. So I've got this thing on the mount. We're gonna probably put it just like right there, sort of centered up. I have a hose clamp that I think is probably way too long. It's the shortest one I have that's big enough to work. Does that make sense? Let's set our red line at 4,000. That's when I think we're gonna start having valve train issues. Scope creep is already happening, but while I'm here wiring stuff, I think I might take this opportunity to go ahead and run a switch 12 volt bus bar up to the engine bay, so I don't have to keep tagging into the ignition switch or that post on the battery. It's getting kind of busy. Those two bus bars are ugly and obviously far from original, but it's gonna make adding any sort of modern anything you need to wire is going to make so much better. Faster, easier to troubleshoot. Plus, I ain't opening the hood. No one wants to look at the old stove bolt 6. Got nothing to prove. That doesn't need to be here anymore. All right, so I got all my wires through. Red and white are gonna go to here, black's to here, green is to the negative side of the coil. I'm gonna wire that up quick. While I'm at it, I'm also probably gonna wire the loom for the 3-pod gauges we have, and then we're gonna fire it up and see if everything works. Got everything wired up, including the lights for these and this. We're gonna hit the battery switch, turn the key. All the lights should come on because I didn't wire them to the headlight circuit. I just wired them to the key. Neutral. Key. Okay, I can see that's. Oh, my oil pressure light isn't. Oh. Uh-oh. Well, let me turn the battery off. I let the smoke out of that one for sure. There's smoke inside the gauge. Oh God. It smells exactly like you'd expect. Huh. That didn't necessarily go according to plan. The socket, the one that smoked, was oil pressure, and it's all mechanical. The only electricity in that whole thing is the light bulb. And when I was wiring it, the socket was really loose and gross. And when it didn't turn on, I reached back there and pushed it. And I'm assuming, I don't know if just the bulb smoked. It's weird for a bulb to smoke when it burns out. But I'm gonna unhook it. Probably not gonna let it stop us. I'm just gonna unwire the loom from these, leave this one because I have them separate, and then I still want to see if the tack works. Okay, let's have less smoke this time. Key on. That's still got loom. Choke. Oh, we got a tack. Oil pressure gauge still reads, it just obviously doesn't illuminate. I assume that's fairly accurate. It says it's idling about 5, 6, 700. Tack, off the list. I think we're coming here next, because that actually freaks me out and it could hurt somebody else. I want to address this cover after far too much time overcomplicating things. Here's what I came up with. The hinges don't work because They would have to be on the outside to get the height right, and I'm not interested in that. So here's what we did. And I just put a little safety chain there. That way if it falls all the way off, it's not gonna fall to the ground, even if it came out like this. Well, hinge was a strong word, but what we meant was make it so that can't fall off, which is officially done. All right, next, moving on to what I've been avoiding, which is bleeding the brakes. I'm gonna continue to avoid it as long as I can by building the cover for the brake master cylinder hole first. This is the factory plug. It still kind of fits. It's in real rough shape. I'm gonna cut the hole in the floor, in the carpet. This is about 3-inch diameter. I'm pretty sure I have an old piece of 3-inch stainless that maybe I could cut an inch or two of, put a cap on, for lack of a better word, and then sink it down in there. It won't really be a press fit, but I got some cheapo rubber floor mats that we'll throw over the top. And you never know what was there. And that hole should be somewhere in this neighborhood here. There's a brake master cylinder down there. All right, so I have a bit of a dilemma because that actually fits perfect. And I was gonna use building that to avoid bleeding the brakes, but I think I'm just gonna leave that because check it out. $16 Amazon floor mat. Can't even tell. I'm gonna go ahead and get the cap off that, grab some fluid. I do wanna be careful because even though this is garage oil carpet, I don't want to spill a bunch of brake fluid on it if I could help it. Instead of doing the same thing over and over again, we're going to try something a little bit different when we bleed the brakes this time. I bought 4 of these speed bleeders, quick bleeders, whatever you want to call them. They're basically a bleeder that has a check valve in it that lets you open it like a quarter to a half turn, pump the brakes, but you don't have to close the bleeder in between because it checks on the return. It's supposed to be the way to do it. Or it's supposed to be an easy way to do it when you're by yourself, which I always am by myself. The way the master cylinder's mounted in this truck, low on the frame, that's how it was from the factory, combined with the way that we ran the brake lines, remember, was pretty half-ass. We got some high spots, we got some air trapped, and I'm pretty sure that's our whole problem. The vacuum didn't really pull it out. I have a vacuum bleeder, and that really didn't get us where we want to go. I'm hoping pressure pushing the other way is going to do it. I don't necessarily think the problem's in the back, but we're going to start farthest from the master cylinder and work towards it. So that means passenger rear is first up. Bleeder's in this side. I've pumped it a handful of times. It's really hard to tell if I'm getting air bubbles out of it because I'm over there, but I'm just going to trust that the check valve is doing its job. I think we're going to call this side good, and we're going to move on to the other side. You guys can see the Gatorade bottle. I can't. Go ahead and let me know what you see as I slowly pump that. We're down, coming back up. Down. Wouldn't it be awesome if it was the back brake and we were just done after this? I really want to see it, but I can't see it and pump the pedal. So you're gonna have to tell me. Okay, so I got the front and rear brakes bled. They feel a lot better, not perfect, but I think that little bit is left in the shoe adjustment, because remember, these are Huck brakes and they're not self-adjusting. So you gotta be close, otherwise you're moving the pad a long way. Or shoe a long way. Definitely good enough for now. My new brake light switch came in, and I want to show you guys a little tech tip with the connectors on that. These have these funky little bullet connectors, which if you have the factory connector, they clip on real nice. But if you want to convert to a connector that's been made in the last 50 years, one thing you can do is take a spade. I find the yellow size works best. Pull off the jacket, and then if it's a cheap one like this, you can kind of stretch out the round part where you crimp, and you can get it to slide perfectly onto these. And then once you got both sides done, you can still get the other end of a spade in. You run a nice long piece of heat shrink over all this, and then it's waterproofed, and you can disconnect it. It's way easier than trying to find this other style connector. And like in my case, the wire broke when it fell off. I think it got hung up in the brake pedal, so I don't have it. I have one, not two. So I'm gonna go ahead and convert this to a spade, get it bolted up in there, and we'll have brake lights again. All right, all of the important items on the list are crossed off. I've talked my wife into it. It's not currently raining, although it looks like it's going to, and we don't have wipers. We're gonna try to take Stinkbug out on an actual drive. It'll go, you don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it.
It's a little moody.
What did you write on the dash?
Oh, I don't have a speedo. Well, I do, but I think it's probably off. So I know, based on gear ratio and RPM, that 2.5 which is gonna feel like a lot, is 51 miles an hour.
Woo! We're really
2,000 is 40.
okay.
Part of me wonders if I shouldn't swing by the storage unit and put a fire extinguisher in here. I got 5 gallons of fuel.
Do we have a fuel gauge?
No, you gotta look at the can in the back.
Oh.
You look concerned.
Well, it just revs really high.
It doesn't, it just sounds like it.
Okay.
We're gonna not be on the highway for very long.
Think you can keep up with that?
It's all the gear we got. So we're doing about 1,500 RPM right now. She drives good, wanders a bit, which is 30. My speedo's not that far off. And if it
You're
kicks,
pointing at us.
if it kicks the rods out, we gotta have someone take us back home,
Well, I'll call Kyle.
get white trash off the trailer, and then come rescue this. But
I'll call Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
I keep wanting to bump it another gear, but I'm out. I'm a little bit worried to rev it any higher, but we're gonna have to soon.
You can always like keep to the side, like the tractor guys do.
I should get a triangle.
Yeah, and then just like lean over and let the top.
This thing hasn't turned sustain RPM for probably 25 years, so if you see any smoke or smells,
I mean, you smell lots of things.
yeah, a little bit's okay. Our turn's right here, we're getting off the highway. Big hill,
This seems like a little bit too much for Sigma.
farm trucking. Uh-oh,
Just, oh my god.
uphill downshift, what up? You just can't be in a hurry, I guess.
I feel like we're going much faster than we probably are.
I bet it sounds so good on the outside, people are lucky to hear it. Is that one for sale? Oh, it is.
We need another one.
Oh, she wandered. You gotta pay attention. Burp. Get the oars out.
It smells a little hot.
Oh yeah. I don't know that my tack should fog up, but it is. Might need to do a little work on the front end.
I should have
Touch loose. I wish I could park next to the
That'd be
Tesla.
so fucking funny.
Oh.
What's that
All right, so we are back home after a 30+ mile road test in Stinkbug, and let me tell you, he did amazing. Didn't get hot, didn't really shake us to death, didn't leave us stranded. There's obviously a couple old truck things to worry about. The front end's totally worn out. You got to be paying attention. And it's gear bound, which isn't a surprise, and honestly, maybe something will fix. Maybe we're just gonna live with that for now and keep her off the highway. No matter what happens, you'll see all of that on a future episode of Tiger's Garage.